If you don't know where your money goes, it will choose to leave you. Money is like water. It flows quietly without a sound. And your wallet is a bucket. But if that bucket has dozens of tiny holes you can't see, then no matter how much water you pour in, it will drain out quickly. That's why many people work hard all month long, yet still see an empty bank account at the end. Not because they're lazy, but because they don't control the flow of their money. They pour money into life but don't know where it's going. And then they wake up every morning only to keep working for money instead of making money work for them. The truth is the problem isn't income. It's how you manage cash flow. You can't control what you can't see. And if you don't know where each dollar goes, you'll never know where you're headed. In today's video, I'll share with you 7 principles to help you master your cash flow. So every dollar you earn becomes a loyal soldier working for you even while you sleep. Stay until the end because Principle 7 is the key that could free you from the financial loop forever. Principle 1: Track, measure, and optimize monthly. I once said at a seminar in Dallas, you can't control what you can't see. Everyone laughed until I asked how many of you know exactly how much you spent last month. The room went silent. No one raised their hand. And that's the problem. Most of us aren't poor because of low income, but because of low awareness. It's not that you don't make money, it's that you don't know where your money is going. Most people let money flow in and out like wind through a window. On payday, they see their account go up and a few days later it's gone. They sigh again, this month's the same as last. But the wealthy don't live that way. They measure, record, and review every expense like a doctor tracking a patient's health. Each month, they spend a quiet evening reviewing the full financial picture of their lives. I remember when I was younger before success, I started with a small notebook and a pen. Every day, I wrote down every expense, even $2 for a cup of coffee. After just a few weeks, I realized something scary. There were too many small leaks silently draining my finances. The strange thing is the moment you see your cash flow, it starts to obey you. You stop spending emotionally and start spending consciously. Today, you can use dozens of tools. Notion, Excel, Mint, Wine, Apab. But tools don't matter as much as the habit of reviewing every month. I have a small rule. Once a month, go on a date with your money. Not to worry, but to communicate. Ask yourself, where is my cash flow going? Am I spending on real value or on temporary feelings? What percentage is helping me grow? What percentage is feeding someone else's habits? When you start measuring, money becomes a loyal servant, no longer an annoying master. No more disappearing, no more surprises. Only clarity, control, peace of mind. And I want you to remember this: money only respects those who count it. Not to be greedy, but to understand. To understand is to control. To control is to be free. When you can control the smallest numbers, you start to organize your entire life. And when life gains structure, everything else starts to grow with it. But sometimes the problem isn't that you don't track. It's that you don't notice the tiny leaks draining your wallet every day. Those expenses that seem harmless are silently holding you back. And that's exactly what I want to share with you in the next principle. Principle 2: Seal small but dangerous financial leaks. I once met a young man in California. He worked hard, earned well, but still ended each month with nothing left. I asked, "Do you know where your money goes?" He laughed and said, "Probably just small stuff, nothing big." I said, "Good. Let's write it down." A few minutes later, he started listing morning coffee $5 a day, streaming subscription $15 a month, fitness app $9.99, a new shirt each week, $40, sometimes a few beers with friends on weekends. When we added it up, those small expenses totaled over $500 a month. I looked at him and said, "You're not broke because you don't make money. You're just letting it slip through invisible cracks without realizing it." I call them invisible financial leaks. They don't empty your account overnight, but quietly drain it bit by bit. A ship never sinks because of the water outside. Sinks because of the water inside. And your wallet is no different. We often fear big failures, but forget that small losses are what silently kill our dreams. A Starbucks coffee each morning may seem harmless, but multiply it by 30 days, then by 12 months, and you'll see you've lost enough to learn a new skill or start a small fund toward financial freedom. I'm not saying you should cut out everything that makes you happy. I'm saying be aware of it. Don't let unconscious habits become real leaks. In the US, many people live income, high savings, zero high income, no assets. Not because they're not smart, but because they lack a system to control leaks. I remember an old businessman once told me, if you want to be rich, learn to keep half of what you earn. At the time, I thought he was joking, but the longer I live, the truer it feels. The rich don't get rich by luck. They keep money through discipline. They seal every leak from habits, emotions to spending decisions. A $5 coffee won't make you poor, but a string of unconscious $5 decisions can cost you your freedom for life. I want you to try something for the next 7 days. Every time you're about to spend money, pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, is this expense serving long-term value or just a short-term comfort? Those 3 seconds can save you thousands of dollars a year. Because financial freedom doesn't come from giant leaps, it comes from small, smart choices repeated long enough. And once you've sealed those small financial leaks, the next step is learning how to spend smarter. Because saving alone isn't enough, you must know which expenses help you grow and which ones keep you stuck. Let's move on to Principle 3. Principle 3. Prioritize spending on growth value. I once asked a group of young entrepreneurs in Arizona, if I gave you $100 what would you do with it? The first said, I'd buy a new phone. The second, I'd take a short trip. I need a break. The third, I'd invest in a marketing course to build my skills. And I said, those 3 answers lead to 3 different lives. In fact, how you spend money reveals your future. Because money isn't just a purchasing tool. It's a mirror reflecting your growth mindset. Average people spend to feel better than others. Successful people spend to become better than themselves yesterday. That's the difference between spending and investing. I once met a 25-year-old in Texas. He worked at an ad agency earning about $3,200 a month. Instead of buying a new car like his friends, he spent $300 a month learning digital marketing and data analytics. A year later, he doubled his income. He told me, I realized I didn't buy a course, I bought my future. I smiled because that's how the wealthy think. They spend on what feeds them, not on what they have to feed. Every time you're about to spend money, pause and ask, will this expense move me forward or keep me still? If it helps you learn a new skill, open new opportunities, increase future income, that's not a cost, it's an investment. But if it only makes you feel good for a few hours and leaves you with bills and regret afterward the spending. In America, I've seen many people fall into a cycle buying bigger houses to reward themselves, buying new cars to motivate themselves, buying expensive clothes to feel deserving. Then they work twice as hard to pay for the things that once made them happy for a few fleeting minutes. Money is energy, and you must learn to direct that energy toward growth. If you spend for emotion, you'll live in a cycle of enough today, short tomorrow. If you spend for growth, you'll live in a state of short today, but rich forever. Poor people buy comfort. Rich people buy opportunity. Let every dollar you spend bring you closer to your best self. Because money, when used wisely, doesn't just change your bank account, it changes who you are. And there's a simple principle. The wealthy always follow a small habit that creates a massive difference. They pay themselves first before paying anyone else. And that's Principle 4, the secret that makes your money start working for you instead of you working for it. Principle 4, pay yourself first. Years ago, when I was just an ordinary salesperson, I made the same mistake most people do. I waited until the end of the month to see if there was anything left, then I'd save. But every month ended with the same familiar line. This month was too expensive. I'll save next month. And you know what? Next month rarely comes. One day, my first mentor told me something that changed my life. Jim, if you don't pay yourself first, you'll work your whole life to pay others. I didn't get it then. I asked, What do you mean? He said, every time you get paid, set aside at least 10% immediately for yourself for your future. Live on the rest. Don't do it the other way around. Because if you wait until the end of the month, there'll be nothing left to keep. That sentence was like a light bulb in my head. I started practicing it. Even with an income of just $60 a week, I still set aside $6 and treated it like a freedom tax I paid to my future. It was tough at first, but then something amazing happened. I started to feel in control. Not because that amount was big, but because I put myself in the priority position. That's the mindset of successful people. I am the most important bill in my life. I once met a woman in New York, an accountant earning $400 a month. As soon as she got paid, she automatically moved 15% into a long-term investment account. 10 years later, she had over $300 in her portfolio. She said, I didn't get rich overnight, but month by month, little by little, I felt myself getting closer to freedom. That's the power of the pay yourself first principle. It's not about the amount, but the habit of financial self-respect. Every dollar you keep today is a soldier working for you tomorrow. Each of those soldiers knows how to earn a return. And when you have an entire army of money, you don't have to fight the battle alone anymore. So don't wait to have leftovers to save. Save so that you have leftovers. When you make pay yourself first, a natural part of every month, you'll see your cash flow start to reverse from you. Working from money to money working for you. If you feel these principles truly awaken something inside, you hit subscribe to continue the journey with me, where we learn not just how to make money, but how to make money serve the life you deserve. Because once you've learned to pay yourself first, the next step is to build a safety foundation so freedom doesn't collapse. And that is Principle 5. Principle 5. Build a freedom fund. Don't just save. I once said in a talk in Los Angeles, savers live to prevent. The free live to choose. Many people save money, but very few build freedom. Because saving is about fighting fear, while building a freedom fund is about aiming at the future. When you only save, you keep money in a drawer to feel safe. But when you build a freedom fund, you build a buffer for your mind and your life. I once met a man in Florida in 2009 after the financial crisis. He had been a senior manager in real estate. And one day, the company went bankrupt. Everything vanished. I asked, were you prepared for this? He gave a sad smile. I had money in the bank, but no plan for freedom. I saved, but I didn't build a foundation. His savings helped him survive for a few months. But only a freedom fund helps someone stand up without fear. A freedom fund isn't an emergency-only account. It's a cushion that lets you choose. Choose to quit a job when the environment no longer fits. Choose to start a project you believe in. Choose to spend time with your kids without worrying about lost income. A person without a freedom fund is like a bird that always flies low, afraid of falling. But a person with a freedom fund knows they can fly high. And if they fall, there are wings to catch them. I call the freedom fund the gatekeeper of peace. Without it, you'll always choose safety over potential. Building a freedom fund is simple, but it demands absolute discipline. Start with 2 steps. 1. Build a survival fund. 3 to 6 months of fixed expenses. 2. Build an opportunity fund, money you can use to seize opportunities without breaking safety. When you have these 2 layers of cushion, life gets lighter. You no longer work out of fear but out of choice. I once asked a student, how do you feel having 6 months of expenses set aside? He answered, I'm not richer, but I sleep better. That is the true meaning of wealth. Not owning more, but worrying less. Wise people don't build castles on sand. They build the foundation before the walls. And the Freedom Fund is the foundation of every solid financial house. I want you to remember, money doesn't bring freedom. The ability to master money brings freedom. When you have a solid freedom fund, the next step is no longer to keep money, but to make it flow backward to work for you. That's the art the wealthy always master, and I'll share it with you in Principle 6. Principle 6. Create reverse flow income. One day when I was a salesperson, I realized something simple that I can never forget. If I didn't go out to work each morning, no money would flow into my pocket. That sounds normal, but it kept me up many nights because I understood I didn't have income. I only had labor. And if I stopped, every cash flow stopped. The poor live on active income. From the free live on reverse flow income. You can picture it as two streams of water. The first is the labor stream. You have to keep drawing water from the well. The second is the self-flowing stream. You build a pipeline. And even when you rest, the water keeps flowing. Smart people don't choose to work forever. They choose to build systems so money works for them. I once met a man in Boston, a software engineer earning a steady $600 divided by month. But instead of upgrading his lifestyle, he invested $100 a month into dividend stocks and REITs. Each quarter, he received a few hundred in dividends. He said, "The feeling of money working for me is even better than payday." That's reverse flow income. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start building your own river of money. It could be a YouTube channel that creates value and runs ads. An online course you make once, but that pays over time. A small investment that generates periodic returns. A product you sell automatically online. I call these financial seeds. You plant them today and they keep sprouting while you sleep. Jim Ran once said, "Let your money work while you rest." Let your money work while you rest. Ordinary people just look for more working hours. Smart people look to expand the rotation of each dollar. When you build at least one reverse flow income stream, your mindset completely changes. You no longer worry about a day off or a month of crisis. You begin to understand true freedom. Freedom not just of time but of spirit. So ask yourself, if I stopped working for 3 months, would the cash still flow? If the answer is no, then today is the day to start rebuilding your system. Start small, but start right now because time can't be multiplied, but systems can. When you learn to make money work for you, everything in life becomes lighter. You're no longer ruled by the fear of losing your job because you have your own river. A river that never runs dry as long as you keep planting seeds and tending it every day. But there's something deeper than money. You can earn a lot, keep a lot, but if you lack financial awareness, that river will carry you away too. And that is Principle 7. Principle 7, financial awareness equals control over your life. I once asked my audience during a talk, if tomorrow you lost your current source of income, how would you feel? One person said, "I'd panic." Another said, "I'd try to find another job." And someone in the back row smiled and said, "I just need to adjust my system." I looked at him and I knew he understood what true financial awareness really means. Money is not the goal. Money is the tool that allows you to choose your life. When you lack financial awareness, you're forced to live by other people's conditions. You work at a job you don't like, stay in relationships that don't make you happy, and trade your precious time just to maintain a false sense of safety. But when you have financial awareness, you gain the power to choose. You can say no to what no longer fits and yes to what helps you grow every day. A person who doesn't understand money will always be controlled by it. A person who does understand money will use it as a tool for freedom. I remember a middle-aged woman who told me, after a seminar in Chicago gym for 20 years, I thought I was living well until I realized I wasn't managing money. I was managing my fear of losing it. That sentence made the entire room fall silent because that's the truth for millions of people. Financial awareness isn't about the numbers in your account. It's about your relationship with money. It's how you perceive value and how you understand that every dollar you own is a choice for your future. Remember, this money isn't good or bad. It's just a magnifying glass for character. If your conscious money amplifies your wisdom, if your unconscious money amplifies your chaos, smart people don't chase money. They attract it through value and keep it through discipline. When you reach a deep understanding of money, you realize this truth. Freedom doesn't come from how much you have, but from how aware you are of how you use it. Set aside one quiet evening each month. Sit down, review your cash flow, and ask yourself, am I working for money, or is money working for me? Am I spending to fill a void or investing to expand? Am I in control or being controlled? Answers to those questions will show you whether you're living proactively or reactively. Because in the end, controlling cash flow isn't just a financial skill. It's an inner growth journey. A journey from fear to freedom, from unconsciousness to awareness, and from living by circumstances to living by choice. Tonight before you go to bed, write down 3 things. 1. What do I spend money on that helps me grow? 2. What am I allowing to control me? 3. If I had 10% more income, where would I invest it to become better? Be honest. Because success doesn't start with numbers. It starts with awareness. When you control money, you don't just control your bank account. You control your life. Jim Rohn. If you feel these ideas truly awaken something inside you, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs it. Because every one of us deserves to live a life of freedom, and freedom begins with mastering ourselves. See you in the next. Account go up and a few days later it's gone. They sigh again, this month's the same as last. But the wealthy don't live that way. They measure, record, and review every expense like a doctor tracking a patient's health. Each month, they spend a quiet evening reviewing the full financial picture of their lives. I remember when I was younger before success, I started with a small notebook and a pen. Every day, I wrote down every expense, even $2 for a cup of coffee. After just a few weeks, I realized something scary. There were too many small leaks silently draining my finances. The strange thing is the moment you see your cash flow, it starts to obey you. You stop spending emotionally and start spending consciously. Today, you can use dozens of tools. Notion, Excel, Mint, Wine, Apab. But tools don't matter as much as the habit of reviewing every month. I have a small rule. Once a month, go on a date with your money. Not to worry, but to communicate. Ask yourself, where is my cash flow going? Am I spending on real value or on temporary feelings? What percentage is helping me grow? What percentage is feeding someone else's habits? When you start measuring, money becomes a loyal servant, no longer an annoying master. No more disappearing, no more surprises. Only clarity, control, peace of mind. And I want you to remember this: money only respects those who count it. Not to be greedy, but to understand. To understand is to control. To control is to be free. When you can control the smallest numbers, you start to organize your entire life. And when life gains structure, everything else starts to grow with it. But sometimes the problem isn't that you don't track. It's that you don't notice the tiny leaks draining your wallet every day. Those expenses that seem harmless are silently holding you back. And that's exactly what I want to share with you in the next principle.